All right, so now we're going to move into more of an advanced walkthrough on these units. We've seen the basics, we've seen how to, just the workflow is set up, how you can get started, but let's go through and talk about some of the more intricacies that you'll run into. So we had talked about the importance of saving your mix beforehand. Now that is absolutely critical when you have practice on Thursday and we show up Sunday morning, we don't want to have to rebuild that. But there's also a lot of downstream effects of saving your file. Let's go back to our mix here that we were using earlier. So if we go on Mix Tools, we can see on the bottom that we're loaded into Lydia. So this console on A is actually called Lydia. Okay. One of the cool things that we can do with these consoles is we have the ability to mirror each other's mixes. So if I'm on the keys and I'm playing and the bass player is struggling with creating a mix, without moving, I can log in to their mix and I can hear what they're hearing and I can make adjustments to their mix and help them get things straight. It doesn't matter what position you're in, you can remote in and do that. And sometimes we've been able to do that from production, from front of house. We're exploring different ways to make this easier for you. But as musicians, you can help each other out. So very, very simple. On our mix, again, we're in the Mix Tools option. We can click here on the second one. It's Mirror Mix Remote Mixing. And here it's going to show the names. So we have the numbers, so 1A, 1B, and then the names of anybody that's saved here. So 1A and 1B is going to be anything that comes in on this line, we're going to have an A and B. The solos can actually be linked together. So the first one in the chain that's blue is always going to be A. The second one is going to be B. So you might see that there's another chord coming off of the solo to another one. That second one is going to be B. What we can see in this list, so here we have 1A and 1B through 4A, 4B. And this is where the names come into play. Okay, so we would look here, and we're trying to find Corey's mix. So we're on 1A through 4B. We can click over here for ports 5 through 8, and we can see Corey is set as 8A. Now we can also see down here too, it says loaded mixed Corey, port 8A. So we're going to hit Corey, then we're going to hit Mirror Mix. We're going to get our screen here, and we can hit Mirror Mix Corey port 8A. And now we're remoted in. We can see on the top that we are mirror mixing Corey on port A. So we can go in, we can do this just like we would on our normal console. We can pick our channels, we can adjust volume, pan, etc. And whatever we make here, he's going to be hearing on the other side of the stage. Pretty simple. When we're done with that, we're going to hit the X, and we're going to hit the X in the top right, and we're going to back out, and now we're back to our main layout. So let's take a step back, and we're going to talk about just the physical layout of these boxes. On the bottom, on the front here, we have physical headphone outs. So these are the 3.5 millimeter standard headphone jacks. On the back, we also have this mix A, or mix out, and that's going to be a 1/4 inch TRS cable. They both work the same. So they have the same feed. It's just for different situations. Big thing is you don't want to use both at the same time because the headphone amp inside of these aren't powerful enough. So on the front of the solo, we've got the USB port. It's on the back of the other ones here. There's also an aux in on all of these. So there's another headphone jack in. That would allow us to hook up a cell phone, an iPod, a computer. If we wanted to, let's say we were going through a new song and we wanted to listen to that together as a group, instead of doing like where we used to, where you'd take a phone and you'd hold it up against the mic and that's how everyone would hear it. You can simply take a headphone cable, plug it into the aux in, and then get your sound that way. So this is where we're going to talk about this accessory channel button here in the middle. So if we press that, it's going to pull up our aux input. And so we can see we've got our aux input volume. Again, we can tap that and then we use our volume adjust. We also have the options in here to change our intercom, ambient mic. So in addition to having the microphone built in here for the intercom, if you wanted to just hear the room around you, you could turn up the ambient mic. It's one option. We'll cover another option in a little bit. So we could all listen to whatever's coming in that aux input. If we press and hold, now this is one of the big tricks on this unit. If you press and hold, you're going to see all of the options for that channel. So right now it's set where we are going to share that aux across all the channels. So anything that I play in here is going to be played across everyone else's LiveMix. If for whatever reason I only wanted to hear it on my own, we would just disable the shared aux. Let's get back here to our main screen. Going back to the press and hold. This is where things are really going to get interesting in customizing these consoles and very, very flexible. So what we've decided to do with these layouts is, you notice with the vocals, we use people's names. There's been conversations and preferences. Do we do mic 1, mic 2, mic 3? Do we do, position left, center, right? We feel like it's important to use names. Everybody on this team is important, and we want to know each of you individually and build those relationships. So we're going to use names. And that does put a little bit of a challenge sometimes in setting up these units, where we have to go in and manually name these each week because of our rotation schedule. We're going to try to do that ahead of time for you, but if something gets missed, you can do it on your own, and I'll show you how. So any changes that we make, first off, goes across all the units. So it doesn't matter which position you're at, anything that's connected, it's going to change. So be careful with what you do. So if we wanted to change Cindy, let's say that this week we've got Joe singing. If we press and hold, we're going to get more options here. So you can see up top it says channel 16 is Cindy. So we're going to press and hold. And here's where we can name it. So we're going to go in and we're going to name this. Oh. We're going to go in, we're going to name this. We can hit Joe. And now what I want to show you too is over here on this one, right now it's called C because of the mistake that I made. But as soon as I hit done, Joe is going to show up over here. Okay? So all of these, they're called global changes. So they're going to go across all the system. The second option here, these are dynamics and effects and EQs that are set up on here. So there's some defaults that kind of help control the mix inside of your ears. Compression is going to help a lot, some of the general EQ. So again, you can press and hold on here. Right now, because this was Cindy, it was set as a female background vocalist. So we're getting a warning that this is a global change. Anything that we do here is going to affect everybody's mix. So if we wanted to change this from a female background vocalist to male background, we can go to male background and highlight that, and now it's going to be male background. Just want you to be aware that you can change those. I wouldn't go getting carried away. We've spent a lot of time getting some of those set up and dialed in. And because they are global changes, what you do will affect other people. So I want you to be aware of how to do that, but be careful in going through that. So some of the other options that we have from here. So on the left side, we have the mute and the solo buttons. So if we hit solo, this is going to let us hear just what Joe is singing, talking about, etc. And when we go back to the main screen, we're going to see that now we have this yellow solo button on Joe. And we're also going to see in the top right corner, we've got that yellow square. So let's say that we were in this 1 through 12, and we're like, oh, I can't hear anything. That yellow in the top right corner is telling us someone is soloed. So we just flip back, we can see that channel. So press and hold, we can turn that off. And we also have the mute. So you can see in the top right, we get that red square. And now it says red and mute. That carries through just the same way. So if there was a channel you didn't want to hear for whatever reason, there was, say there was music playing in a video that was disrupting what you wanted, you can turn that off. So we'll reset that. So one of the other things that we can talk about is the me groups on here, how we set those up. So this volume, again, just to recover, this volume is a quick way if you're singing, if you're performing, and you want to adjust your dedicated volume, instead of going through and having to use the touchscreen and get your channel and everything while you're playing, you can just grab that me knob, turn it up or down. So they should be set up for you beforehand. We really try to make sure that everything's ready to go for you guys, both on Sunday mornings, but also at rehearsal. But sometimes things get overlooked. So I want to tell you how to do that on your own. So the me knob, to change those settings, all we're going to do is press the button. And you can see on here it says push to set up me and group. So when we press that on the top, it's going to say group me setup. And so in this case, you can see that we have acoustic on the 1 through 12 page. We're going to switch to 13 to 24. And you can see that Joe is also set up on this knob. So when we change that knob, it's going to do both. But let's say that Joe doesn't play acoustic guitar, and that's, those two are linked together. So all we have to do is unselect that, back out, and now that me knob is just going to control Joe's vocals. The other thing to note is when we go in here, there's multiple groups that you can see. Right now we're in the group me setting. If you go show next group, there are 4 different group settings here. So we have group 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not going to use those. We're not really going to talk about those. The way that our system's designed, we don't need to group anything together. There are some ways that we could use that in the future. Right now, we're not doing that. The one that you may be interested in learning about or knowing more about is going to be this next one here, where it's the stereo pair setup. This is how we've combined channels to do a left and right setup. So we have our drums left and right. Those are going to be the overheads and toms. So our electric guitar left and right. Piano, crowd mics. There are some times where, based on different instruments, we'll link those together and they may be overlooked. So we can see here, for example, on channels 9 and 10, violin 1 and violin 2 are linked as a stereo pair. If we switch those instruments out, let's say we have a cello and a violin, we don't want those linked together, we would go in here and we would just tap on that and it would unlink. Now, it is important to notice that with these links, they have to be adjacent channels, so starting with an odd and even. So if we wanted kick and snare, when we select 1, it's automatically going to do 2. But we can't link 10 and 11, right? So they have to be odd and even, not the other way around. So we can't do 9 and 12. It has to be the one and the other. So for the most part, these are already set up for you. Shouldn't have to change them, but that's how things are, should you need to. So we're back here at the home page. Should be enough to get you guys going. These are, at the core, these are pretty simple units. They can do a lot of stuff. There are more features that we haven't talked about, and we'll get into. If you have questions, we can go through those kind of as a one-off. We have the ability to reroute all of our wireless packs. So if for whatever reason we need to change pack 1 from being on this mix to another one, we can do that. We ask that you not go too deep into these and making changes because most of the changes do apply globally. So if there are things that you want to know more about and make changes, please reach out to somebody on the Creative Arts team. We'd love to walk through that with you or talk about some of those options.